Hey people, welcome to the Run Testers, and in this video we are going to be comparing the Jaybird Vista 2 and the Beats Fit Pro, and we're going to be telling you which of these lovely sets of headphones you should be buying to go and do your running. So let's get into it. First up, let's rattle through a quick comparison of the specs and features. Well, the Jaybird Vista 2 are going to cost you just short of £190 or $200, and the Beats Fit Pro are going to come in at just under £200 or $200. On battery life, the Jaybird Vista 2 pack 8 hours runtime in the buds. There's a further 16 in the case, and that goes up against the Beats Fit Pro with 7 hours on the buds and 23 in the case. With ANC on, both have the same 6-hour bud battery life. When it comes to charging, the Jaybirds charge to full in 2 hours, the Beats are slightly quicker at just 90 minutes, and on rapid charge both offer 1 hour runtime from 5 minutes on the plug. The Vista 2 support wireless charging, but the Beats Pro don't. In terms of sound, the Vista 2 packs 6mm drivers, whereas the Beats have 9.5mm drivers. Both feature active noise cancellation and hear-through awareness modes. The Jaybird, though, have custom EQ, whereas the Beats have an automatic EQ setup. On the design front, both feature gels and wingtips. The Beats offer 3 sizes of gels in the box, and those come with fixed wingtip sizes. The Vistas offer 3 sizes of one-piece ear gels. 2 of those have wingtips and gels together in one piece, and 1 comes without wingtips. The wingtip on the Fit Pro is definitely a little more rigid than the Vista. At 6.7 grams, the Vista 2 buds are a little heavier too than the Fit Pro, which come in at 5.5 grams. The Vista 2 case is lighter though, much more compact, and it's running belt and short pocket friendly. The Soap Bar Beats Fit Pro case is really quite bulky and a bit of an awkward shape. It's not particularly portable by comparison. The Vista 2 also has a handy toggle for securing them in place in running belts and bags. When it comes to durability, the Beats Fit Pro are IPX4 rated, so they're sweat and water resistant. That's not quite the levels of protection you get on the Vista 2 bud, which are IP68 rated, so water, sweat, dust, drop and crush proof. The Vista case, interestingly, is also IP54 rated, so it's kind of weatherproof, whereas the Beats case isn't weather protected in any way. Onto connectivity then, and the Vista 2 pack Bluetooth 5.0, and the Beats Fit Pro have Class 1 Bluetooth. So first up, battery life performance then, how did it fare in the test for you, Nick?
I find that even though I think the Jaybirds listed as having slightly more, with ANC on, the Jaybirds did die a fair bit. So I think that's the listing with it turned off, which is what I would normally do. And when I do turn ANC off, it lived up to its 7 hours on paper. Both fine, got through a week of workouts, no problems at all. I'm very impressed by the amount of battery in the very tiny Jaybird Vista case, but otherwise pretty happy with the battery front from both of them.
Mike?
Yeah, same for me. I've done a lot of running. This is kind of one of my kind of go-to running headphones anyway, the Vista 2. I've run a marathon in them, they survived that. Battery life for me generally for a week's worth of training has been fine. I use ANC, that's pretty much what I use, and so that will knock the battery a little bit more, but ultimately, you know, when you can top up it with the case, you know, you're still going to get you through a week. And these have both got fast charging, which, you know, is a big thing that I always forget to charge my headphones, so the fact that you've got these on both fronts is really strong. So, and yeah, the Beats Fit Pro for me kind of solidly in terms of the ANC kind of knock-on effect in terms of the battery life as well. So in terms of battery life for me, generally pretty much there and thereabouts, both of them, I think.
So one thing we all know you're a big fan of, Mike, is wireless charging because you've got a special lamp.
I do love my special wireless charging lamp. So obviously you can charge these with wireless charge. Obviously, the rate and the comparison to kind of plug them in, you know, normally it's going to be slower, but you do have that option there. Here on these you don't. So that's something you want another way to charge, and you've got it there. But ultimately, in terms of that kind of charging ability on both of them, it's pretty similar in terms of that kind of quick charge and how you can get them back up from 0 to 100% essentially.
For me, the battery performance, I think the one thing, I don't tend to use ANC too much on these because I get quite a good seal. Don't notice much of a difference from the ANC, so you know, it doesn't make a big difference for me. The one big difference actually though is in the case. I find the Jaybird Vista case far more portable, so for charging on the move, I much prefer this.
I'm just going to get this out.
I'm going to say the toggle.
Because we're going to talk about it.
It's got a toggle. You can attach that toggle to a bag, the clip in a bag or a belt, and they don't fall out. That doesn't have it, and this is basically a bar of soap. It will slip out and fall on the floor, 100% guaranteed. So I just think overall, actually, charging on the move, in all seriousness, I think the performance from the Vista 2 is a little bit better if you're going to use them for longer runs. Okay, next up, let's talk about the kind of design and the fit and the comfort use on the move. Mike, what did you find differences between the two were?
So these do both use wingtips, which are, generally would be the most kind of secure way, particularly for running. I've had a really good experience with the Jaybird Vista. So it had no issues in terms of the fit. I have had some issues with the fit and the Beats Fit Pro, particularly when I've used them for kind of longer runs, and because of the way the nature kind of they sit, the wingtips kind of sit inside my ears, you get a little bit of pressure, which I kind of notice, which I haven't really seen replicated on the Vista 2 in my time with them. So I've kind of run marathon, and I generally do a lot of my training runs with these as well, and I haven't really seen the same issues. So from a comfort and kind of fit point of view, are secure, but I find them more comfortable on the Vista 2 ultimately.
The Beats have a firmer tip. It's actually it's noticeably a stiffer tip, Mike. And what I think what you're saying is that you don't quite like the stiff tip.
I don't like the stiff tip.
I personally, I don't know. I mean, I think I actually found that the Beats Fit Pro held a little bit firmer in place than maybe the Jaybird Vista. I'm talking kind of minuscule. I think they both have good kind of Loctite fit. They work for me on both sides, not too much to draw. I didn't get that kind of pressure and discomfort from the Beats Fit Pro that a lot of people have. So for me, it hasn't been a sort of deciding factor. But Nick, I know you have some thoughts.
I always get I got weird ears. They always get these pressure things with most wings, and I did find the Beats were uncomfortable to wear for long periods, and actually weren't any more secure than the Jaybird for me, despite the fact that it was ramming in a bit firmer there. With the Jaybird, I tend to find that if I used the medium wingtip, it was very comfortable to wear for long periods. But if it was a sweaty day, a hot day, the larger wingtip would be needed to get a really secure fit, and then it maybe provide a little bit of discomfort. I find also with the Jaybird in-ear tip, it doesn't really go right into the ear, which I like, because when I get an in-ear one that goes right in, it does squirm loose on the run, so it does compromise the overall security of the fit for me. So the way it kind of goes half in and sits there, you still get a good feel for music, I think, and I've not had any problems on that front, but it just makes it a little bit more comfortable and more secure. So I definitely preferred the fit of the Jaybird all round, and I think the Beats wing just needs a little bit of refining for me.
And then in terms of actually using those controls on the move, so they've both got buttons.
Yeah.
And there's like a fabric feel to the Jaybird Vista. I know that you boys have sort of found with the Beats Fit Pro that you had some.
Oh yeah, I just set them off easily. So, like I say, if the fit wasn't perfect and I was touching them to adjust them, I nearly always would press pause by accident, which I didn't do. The Jaybird Fight requires a more deliberate press, but the Beats buttons are very good if you are trying to press them. But yeah, generally, it's not a deal breaker on either front. They've both got quite good buttons. I think for running headphones, it's quite hard to get it right, and they're both done them quite well, but I think the Beats one's a little bit oversensitive.
Yeah, I'm glad that they've both gone the kind of physical type of kind of buttons, because I think the touch sensor, I think we've kind of unanimously agree they don't work great when you're running. I think with the Vista 2, I think they're a little bit more kind of reliable in terms of, you don't have that kind of oversensitive kind of buttons and that you get in the Beats Fit Pro. I kind of like the kind of texture, although mine are getting a little bit grubby now but they do feel a bit more nicer when your hands are a little bit sweaty, just to kind of interact with them. So I think buttons wise, okay. I think maybe a little bit better than the Vista 2, but generally I think they're fine across the board, really.
I think the other thing I like about the Jaybird Vista 2 is there's a little bit more customization in terms of what you can do, assigning controls to the buttons as well. That makes a little bit of a difference.
And volume, having a volume control, which you do have on the Vista 2, which you don't have, which you might actually use, which I would probably use, you don't have on Fit Pro, because it would be another differentiator between the two as well.
And then more desired is the old durability, and this is where the Jaybird has quite a few clear advantages, it's fair to say.
On durability?
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, the thing is you've got a weatherproof case, which means you can take it out, and if you're going to run long or be out all day, it doesn't matter if it gets a little bit wet in a bag or a belt, whereas the Beats Fit Pro don't. The buds themselves have got a higher durability rating than the Beats Fit Pro. They've got a military grade kind of standard rating as well as that IP rating, which boosts them up. I do think though it's interesting because, and it hits up in the comments, but a lot of people do comment on overall kind of durability of the Jaybirds. I know some people have problems with things not working. One thing I found with the case was that sometimes you had to be very careful adjusting the connectors to make it charge. Yeah. And that's one area where they might kind of fall down. People have had trouble making the things charge. I found that if you kind of cleaned them and put them back in, it did work. But
basically, they're slightly buggier in terms of getting a guaranteed connection. Even though the magnet feels quite strong, there's times when it's really clicked in and I've gone off and it still hasn't charged, kind of thing. But generally, it's not a huge problem. And it's interesting because the case has a charging port on it, same as the Beats. So the fact it is, more weatherproof is obviously great. And I've had no problems with IPX4 headphones running all the time, which the Beats Fit Pro are. But the extra peace of mind of having a waterproof headphone and also being able to clean it properly and stuff like that is never a bad thing.
So on to sound performance then, one of the big things here, big difference is the Jaybird Vista 2, you can obviously do custom EQ, tweak the sound profiles a little bit more to suit your needs, but did that make a big difference on the run, Nick?
I think it did make a really big difference, actually. I think these are the best sounding Jaybird headphones I've had, and early on I thought, these are pretty good. I think I still prefer some others, but once I tweaked the EQ, and you really can play with it a lot, I think they're up there with my favourite sounding sports headphones around this kind of bracket, as good as things like the Bose and the Jabra Elites Actives or whatever number you choose. But so I think the Jaybird 2 equalisation is a massive plus point. Even though I do like the sound of the Beats Fit Pro a lot, it's probably I would tweak that EQ if I could. It's slightly more bass forward than I would normally listen to, but I still like it. It's not like a deal breaker, but I just like the fact you can change the EQ up on the Jaybird, and it really make it suit your preferences.
Mike, what about you?
Yeah, I think both have got a very kind of enjoyable sound for running. That's what I found, and a real kind of massive complaints. I like the fact that you've got that EQ on the Vista 2, because I think the previous ones have kind of felt a little bit muted. I felt like they were a little bit quieter as well. It's definitely, you're getting a little bit more power and loudness on the Vista 2, and the Beats definitely more bassy. You don't have that EQ support there, and if you don't, I don't think it's overly bass heavy. I think there's a lot of power there as well, so I think you're kind of well served if you're for running. I think you're well served here across both, and while you don't have that EQ to get a bit more finesse on the Beats Fit Pro, I still think it's good sound quality you're getting there.
Yeah, and I do use the custom EQ, and the fact that you can save profiles on the Vista 2, big difference for me in the Beats Fit Pro. And I'll save out different profiles, maybe for being in the gym, or whether I want to have them for home use, or whether I'm going to go and run out maybe somewhere quieter, and it's easy to flick between those kind of profiles, which you can't do on the Beats Fit Pro. So if you like to get a kind of custom sound, that's a big difference. Overall, kind of beyond that, I think the sound performance for me, I'm kind of happy with both really. They're big, loud, sort of kick-ass enough when I'm whacking on my European dance music.
Kick-ass.
Yeah, that's when you want a little bit of a boot, apply the old make me run faster. Make me run fast. You just run fast anyway, so you don't need it.
Podcast I'm running.
Yeah. And but they both perform well enough. I don't think there's a huge amount to choose, but I do like that kind of ability to tweak the profiles. And what about active noise cancellation, hear through awareness, transparency modes?
All those modes. I say here, like a lot of them I found on the run, I didn't really like the ANC on either of these. I found it brought in some wind. It didn't filter out a lot of that kind of noise, a little bit by traffic, but really it comes into its own when you're travelling. I think actually the seal from the Beats is a bit more in there. You get a better seal, which then is aided by ANC, so you probably block out a bit more noise. But on the run I probably wouldn't use either, and both transparency modes are good. I think it's maybe slightly windier on the Jaybird. I seem to have a lot of wind when I use the Jaybird. Maybe it's just a very windy day. But broadly, that's a useful mode for me. With the ANC, I don't use on the run so much.
Yeah, so I think for me, in terms of the ANC across the kind of sports headphones that I've tested, Sony and Bose seem to be the top in terms of what I've experienced. Now, in terms of how these compare, I would say the Beats are a little bit better, I found, when I've been out running. I don't think it's a massive amount in it. But I think, if you want to kind of dampen a little bit that sound of the traffic and the wind, then they'll do an okay job, but they're not class leading in terms of the ANC you can get, I think, in sports buds in general. But in terms of transparency modes, it's not something I massively use. I have used it in testing these, and I think they're fine again. I think you can kind of bring that world back in a quite nice way, but I think there's not much difference in terms of that performance with that mode on either of these headphones.
And I'd kind of agree with Nick. I think with the Fit Pro you can kind of get away a little bit more without using ANC. I think I get a bit more of a seal, and it kind of works for me. There's not too much of a difference to discern when I switch on the ANC, for me personally, just because I get a nice fit.
And I think with the Jaybird in particular, the ANC does seem to come at a fairly heavy cost battery life wise, and you're losing a couple of hours, and I'd rather have that battery life than ANC, definitely.
So on to connectivity then. Mike, how did you find these two performed?
Generally fine for me. I've tested both with Android phones, iPhones. I kind of use them up, I'm not running, and I kind of use them up on my laptop as well. And from a connectivity point of view, I haven't had any kind of I can't think of any real issues I've had using these headphones. I haven't suffered any kind of major dropouts when I've been out running. I've raced with the Vista 2, the Beats I haven't, but in the runs that I've done so far, I haven't had any issues from a connectivity point of view on either Android or iOS, so it's been generally good for me.
I didn't either, but I think I will say that in the comments when we first did our Jaybird Vista 2 review, there were some people kind of saying that they had noticed some dropouts, so that may be an issue out there for for wider kind of audience. I think the one place that I find these differ quite a lot is probably beyond the run, when you come home and you want to flick to using a Mac, or if I'm an iPhone user, a Mac user, when I get back in the office from a run, the Beats just pair really quickly, really easily, really instantly. You don't have to go in and do that thing where you're sort of toggling, you're making it forget a device in order to connect to another one. That's a huge deal breaker if you legging it back in last minute to get on a Zoom call.
Jaybird has definitely got that problem. It feels like you have to turn everything off and start again if you want to repair it. I had a couple of minor. I think the Jaybirds, it's one of those things where 99 times out of 100 they work with the Beat. There's definitely, I've remembered runs going out the door with the Jaybird and going, they're not connecting, getting bizarrely angry. I don't know. I go from I'm going for a nice run to I'm as angry as I've ever been because my headphones haven't connected and I'm outside the door and now I have to get my keys out and go back in, put them in the case, take them out again and try again. It's like I've gone from 0 to 100 here. Over what is a very trifling issue.
It's always a big step getting out the front door when you're running.
I was excited. It's because I hide my keys.
Go back in and do it all over again. I've done it. I've made it out.
Yeah, exactly. If it doesn't work next time, someone's dying.
Yeah.
But it's not really a problem. Generally, they're fine. It is just harder to switch.
Yeah, and I speaking from an Android perspective, predominantly the quick pairing has kind of worked across the board well for both of these headphones for me.
Now the all-important verdict, Mike. It's your money. What are you buying?
I am going to go for the Vista 2 from the base. That for me, sports headphones have to have a good fit and all the runs, and I've had no issues in terms of my experience with the Vista 2. You've got the other thing over the sound. I think is good enough there. I think the battery life is solid overall, and the durability side of things is a big plus as well. It's just been more reliable for me. I think the Beats Fit Pro has been. I think the sound is great. I think the battery life has been solid overall. The fit has been okay, but I have had some issues. So, if it's coming to it and I've got a race, these are the ones that I would probably be looking to. It would kind of be a no-brainer for me if I had them sitting there. That's the ones I would pick up, I think.
Nick, I think I know what you're going to say.
Well, this is an easy one for me. The Vista are cheaper and they're better in all the key ways.
So for me personally, I think it's a bit of a closer run thing between these two sets of headphones. I didn't have a problem with the fit with either, to be honest. I found them both to be pretty on a level from that, but the Jaybird Vista 2 just edge it in a few kind of key areas. One of them is the fact that you've got a toggle on that case and it links into a back. No, the overall kind of portability of the case makes it more appealing to me for doing long runs where I'm going to want to charge these on the move. I also think the app and the customization of the sound that comes with the Jaybird Vista is much better. I really like the fact that you can track find my buds through the case and the buds separately. So if you've lost the case, which I did with the Beats Fit Pro, I would have been able to find it if it had tracked the case. It didn't. And so I just think the overall kind of package for the price and the value that you're going to get, the Vista just edge it. So there you have it. That has been our head-to-head on the Jaybird Vista 2 and the Beats Fit Pro. We hope it's been helpful. If you have any more questions, don't forget to hit us up in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe and ring the bell. We have loads and loads of running headphones reviews coming up on the channel around about now, so you'll be able to get notified when they land. We hope you've enjoyed watching, and we'll hope to see you again soon on the Run Testers.